Thank you for auditing Professor Skye's Record Review, the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after celebrating his dog's adoptiversary. Happy birthday, Toby! I'm going to be reviewing the album Quarantine Casanova by Chromeo. It's an EP, the whole thing lasts about a half an hour, by the Canadian electronic dance music disco outfit, and I would say it's best described as a COVID musical written by Daft Punk and Weird Al Yankovic. If you can imagine what that would sound like, that's what this is. All 5 songs are jokes about the quarantine, about the era of COVID. And they're all set to the group's amazing, amazing production, which, if you liked Random Access Memories as much as I did, you are right in that same zone of recreating disco sounds and the sounds of the early 80s. Excellent dance music. As my wife said when I played this over the speakers, hey, this is a good summer album, and this is a great summer album. Every single song is a song about the COVID or about the quarantine that doubles as a song about love and longing. Like, I could be your Clorox wipe, you might finally need me in your life. It's funny, isn't it? Isn't it funny, Chromeo? Isn't it funny how 424,806 people have died as of the recording of this video? Is this a source of humor to you, Chromeo? Is this what we laugh about? Was there some old-timey typhoid joke? Was there a funny AIDS EP made by Chumbawamba? No, there wasn't. COVID isn't funny, Chromeo. But maybe it is. Maybe this album is necessary. I want to go in and describe the function that this album serves. Why it's different than an AIDS EP made by Chumbawamba. I don't know why I chose Chumbawamba out of all the bands I could have chosen. Maybe it's because they have a funny name. You see, this album serves a function. And it's not just a good summer album, a great disco album, that wonderful genre of music that makes you dance and feel happy. But it fulfills the role of what is called black humor. And that's not black as in race, that's black as in the color, as in dark. I'm going to go back to my French professor roots and tell you, or remind you, if you didn't already know, that the term black humor was actually coined by André Breton, one of the most underrated geniuses of 20th century theory, the person who basically invented surrealism, the co-founder of surrealism, the writer of the manifesto of surrealism, but also the person who defined the term black humor. Humeur noire in French. I tried to find a good definition for this, but it's hard to describe. The dictionary.com definition is wonderful, but perhaps overly French. A form of humor that regards human suffering as absurd rather than pitiable. Okay, that's true. It's taking something dark and sad and making it into a joke. The Encyclopedia Britannica says it is writing that juxtaposes morbid or ghastly elements with comical ones. What more could be said about this Chromeo album other than silliness and morbidity at the same time? But it's actually Webster's definition, which I think is the most useful. Humor marked by the use of usually morbid, ironic, grotesquely comic episodes. Each song here describes a different part of the COVID quarantine crisis. Each one of them is a grotesquely comic episode, mocking, celebrating, describing, parodying, satirizing our daily existence. The thing is this, is that black humor serves a very important function. I'm going to go back to another word that professors like to talk about, and that's catharsis. You might know what catharsis is. Not everybody knows that the word in Greek just means purification. So the idea is that through art, literature, theater, or whatever, you can get your emotions out, particularly the emotions of sadness and fear. So if we're using this comedy, if we're talking about our fear and our anxiety and our sense of isolation and loneliness, and we do it in a way that makes us laugh, that allows us to get some form of catharsis. See, I'm not getting too professorial here. The biggest thing, though, and the reason that I kind of started this whole video with a provocative idea, oh, is COVID funny, Chromeo? Is it? You think it's funny? You charming Canadians? Is that this kind of humor, sometimes called gallows humor, although they're not entirely interchangeable, it has to be you that's in the gallows. You have to be a part of the group or the people that are threatened. So that's where we have to make a very important distinction in this time. Because I've been talking for months now about the wave of COVID music that's going to be coming now that all the great artists have to be at home making art. It's not an album about COVID being funny. It's not about the people dying. I don't think we can make that funny. I don't think so. But it's laughing at the rest of us who are trying to stay alive. This is catharsis for us, the lucky few, the lucky many who are not dying, but who are stuck at home in a state of permanent paranoia, helplessness, and isolation. You start to see articles here, like peeking in here or there, from Psychology Today or some psychologists saying the psychological effects of the quarantine aren't entirely known. This is a horror show that we're living through. It really is. And it's a horror show for us, the living. Even those of us who are lucky enough to have food, shelter, privilege, money, family, it's still this horrible, horrible moment. So, what better way to give us catharsis than to laugh at the quarantine? To laugh at those feelings of isolation, paranoia, and germophobia, right? And that's what Chromeo does with this album. But that's not all. Chromeo is actually doing something pretty amazing. They are donating 100% of their proceeds to a charity. And not just any charity, Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights campaign, which is a charity dedicated for black and people of color specifically, who are more impacted by COVID than people who are not black or people of color. Thereby making this album an album which, if you purchase it, and I'm going to purchase this at the end of the video. This is basically an ad. I'm not sponsored, but I believe in this cause. It manages to be a charity and a music that simultaneously talks about COVID and Black Lives Matter while making a positive change and providing catharsis for those of us who are stuck in our damn room. Chromeo, I forgive you for that joke, because it isn't just a joke. It's a very serious album, and it's wonderful. Stay tuned to the end, where I'll actually buy it on Bandcamp while trying to figure out how to obscure my home address and credit card number. So, let's talk about this as an album. It's summer music, like I said. It's got a great cover that serves quite well to illustrate the themes of the album. You know, you have the two members of the group. They're sitting there. You have them sitting on top of the empty toilet paper roll. You have the quarantine Clorox thing. You have the one guy wearing a mask. This is very much the tone of the entire album. It's polished. It's interesting. It's funny. It's a little bit sad. And it is so of the moment, it is painful. Can you remind me, my auditors, to talk about this album in 2030? Can you say, hey, Skye, remember a couple thousand episodes ago you said you would revisit Chromeo and determine how good it actually was? Because I can't tell how good it is. I can tell you this. Their production is so good that if you like what I'm going to play for you in a couple minutes, you will like this album. Like, if you like their kind of upbeat, polished, funny, knowing, almost postmodern disco, you're really going to like this album. I'll go through track by track. There's only 10 of them. The same, repeated, with music, with words and instrumental. The first track is called Clorox Wipe. And the best part of this is in general, the usage of vocoder. I talk a lot about Daft Punk because how can you not? With any good electronic dance music, it's hard not to talk about Daft Punk. But in particular, the usage of vocoder throughout this album is very similar to the great usage that Daft Punk does. And I say it all the goddamn time. What is the point of starting a revolution if nobody follows you? I am so thankful for groups like Justice and Chromeo, which are so very clearly influenced by Daft Punk, but then build upon it, produce music, go beyond the influence, retreat to the influence, go beyond the influence, but make more great music. I'm so sick of all these great like groundbreaking musicians and filmmakers and artists, and they do something, and then someone does something like it, and everyone's like, yeah, nice try. It's not as easy as it looks to make music that is even close to sounding good, that sounds like Daft Punk, and they're able to do it. So in this song, there's this great vocoder bit, like, all your countertops, I'll wipe them. And it's so goofy. It is so unbelievably goofy. The whole album is so goofy. I read in the Bandcamp description that it all kind of started out as a joke, and then it spiraled. They just had to kind of keep going. But it's always this concept, that a whole song about Clorox wipes. What do we think about right now? Like what's in our mind, right? In the last 3 weeks, Black Lives Matter has been in our mind. But before that, basically only one thing. Only Clorox wipes and paper towels. And this is able to get that out and make fun of it and make it light while also accurately describing it. And so it's a song about like wanting her to love him and saying that he'll be her Clorox wipe. It's great. Why not? This also underlines the fact that for most dance music, hell, most music in general, unless the lyrics are great, I don't know why I said that, like Tony the Tiger, even with the finger, I promise you I don't have a script that says make it Tony the Tiger. Even if their lyrics are great, the lyrics have to be great in order to be important. For the most part, most dance numbers, most disco songs, they could release the same album, and instead of saying I'll be your Clorox wipe, say I'll be your forever love. And it would be just as good, because the strength comes from the ability to sing, the production, the danceability, the groove, the funk. They've got all that, so why not have the words be funny and true? 6 Feet Away is the next track, a super great 80s disco sound. It's all about how he can't get close to this woman. Pretty funny. Some of these lyrics are just so on the nose, and that's what's hard to figure it out. Like, are they so on the nose that they're bad? No. I think if they weren't this on the nose, it would be bad. If you're going to do a project like this, you have to go deep into that project. You can't just like kind of do it. You have to have lyrics like, I can't wait to hold your hands without these freaking gloves. Yes, absolutely. That's perfect. I left flowers at your door and someone stole the chocolate. Awesome. Just great. I should also mention that every single track has a little instrumental outro. I'm not an expert on Chromeo. I like their last couple albums, but I didn't review them. I don't own them. I don't know if they do this traditionally, but it's really nice because with an album that's as light as this, 15 minutes of new material repeated twice, it's nice to hear these little outros because they're letting you know, hey, we could have made a longer album. We've got more groove and more funk than we know what to do with, but we're just going to give you this. And each one of these little outros is a little reminder of what more they could be doing. Then comes my stamp. Stay in bed and do nothing. This is really important for me. This song is literally important for me personally. Chromeo has helped Professor Skye to be a better and more adjusted human being. Because I'm very, 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 very motivated and very anxious. That's just my nature. I work on it in therapy, but it's still my nature. And the quarantine, so now that the semester's over and I have nothing to grade, I have no classes to teach, and the quarantine's here and I can't go anywhere, I'm starting to chew my leg off. Like, I'm going crazy. Like, I have to be productive. I have to fix the windows and help gardening and publish this paper on the nature of the history of the word insidiousness in 17th century literature, which I am going to do. I have to make 10 videos a day. But this song is just giving you permission to stay in bed and do nothing. And if you're trying to do something, you're kind of a jerk. It says on here, all the people I respect come from the USPS. And it's really nice because I believe its goal is to alleviate stress. To maybe even tell me that I could hang around in my sweatpants as opposed to having to do something. Because that's the state we're all in, this kind of state of helplessness and not being able to do anything. I'll play you a little bit of the chorus, or maybe it's the pre-chorus, and you'll hear like the wonderful G-funk, West Coast funk sounding keyboards and synthesizers on here, just the wonderful production that these guys put together and the wonderful voice. Here we go. You might see ads on this video. It's now going to be monetized. That was over 14 seconds, but I don't care. I had to play the whole chorus. Stay in bed and do what you want to do. In other words, nothing. So they're not only doing kind of this whole catharsis thing where they're helping us to laugh at our situation and thereby be in touch with the emotions underneath the laughter. They're also providing a necessary suggestion to just do nothing. The next track, Roni Got Me Stressed Out. This is where I really, when I saw this title, this is where I knew the direction I was going to go in the video. Because calling Corona Roni is like 242,806 people dying. Calling it Roni is not great. That's not okay, right? I mean, I'm lucky. I don't have anyone that I personally know who's died of COVID, but basically everyone I know does. I live in constant fear of people I know dying from it. But again, that's the black humor. That's the function. If it doesn't make you a little bit uncomfortable, it's not doing its job. The music is a little bit autopilot for them. It feels a little bit just like they were like, let's make a Chromeo song. They made a Chromeo song, but it's great. I particularly like it. It talks a lot about the stress about getting groceries. I buy groceries for my dad, so he doesn't have to go to Wegmans, you know. That's a grocery store in Rochester, and a cult, and a religion. So I have to so my wife orders it through Instacart, and then we get it, and then we have to break it into different, like, what's going to our house and is quarantined, what's going in our house, going in the cooler, what's going directly into the refrigerator, what goes to my dad's house, what goes to his cooler. It's this whole thing, hours upon hours upon hours of work. And thank you, Roni's got me stressed out. So next time I have to do that, I'm going to be singing, Roni got me stressed out. They actually mentioned Dr. Fauci by name. Again, if they weren't so on the nose, it wouldn't be as good. I love the outro bit. The last track is Cabin Fever. This is most interesting musically. It's a little bit diversion, like it's more like acoustic instruments, has kind of a Steely Dan sound on the keyboard. It's really good, and it's all about just hating being stuck in a room and how he even built a fort and how it's his idea of hell. The instrumentals are great. They let you know how great the underlying song is. I actually think it's necessary because the lyrics are so far out front. The thematics of the album are so far out that you can't really hear the music because you're too busy listening to the jokes or the witty commentary or l'humour noir, as Breton would say. But you hear what a wonderfully produced album it is. As a good example, 6 Feet Away is my least favorite track lyrically, but listening to it, instrumentals, it's just so well produced. They have like a stereo effects going on this nice kind of disco funk guitar. It's excellent. So, like I said, I'm going to buy this album right now. Well, not live, but I want you to see here. I'm on Bandcamp, all right? You see there? I'm on Bandcamp. I'm on my PayPal, okay? I'm going to be buying the album on vinyl, white vinyl. I think you should do the same. All the proceeds, not all the profits, all the proceeds go to help people of color in the time of COVID. I'm now going to hit Pay Now. It's processing, securely logging me in. I use PayPal One Touch. That's me. Pay Now. Okay, so that's logging. One of my favorite lines is, as long as you've got Wi-Fi, you're covered. That's what they say about the whole quarantine, which is quite nice. This is taking a while, so here we go. Thank you. Estimated to ship September 27th. That's quite a while, but that's fine. I suggest you do the same. And listen, if you do the same, if you buy this album after watching this video, I just got a notification that the PayPal went through. Could you just leave a comment? Say like, what should you say? I bought it. Just simple. Just put in the comments, I bought it. If you are celebrating the great music and the great efforts represented by this truly most 2020 of 2020 albums that could possibly be. Okay, well, until next time, for Toby, the 8th Tobiversary, there's the camera.